Do you like hot hatches like a Golf GTI or a Golf R, but you just need more space? Well, then the Škoda Oktavia VRS or RS is maybe something for you. Here now in the facelifted version, and it is the Octavia in general, the most popular Škoda model, and actually quite a lot of customers go for this top sporty version because they combine the space on the interior and the sporty driving. How does it work in the facelifted version here? We're going to find out here with Thomas Nautigefühl in 4K, full screen, full length. Let's go with here the VRS logo. And in the UK, our friends here always say VRS. In Germany here, actually, we only say RS. And the background of that has to do also with some copyright issues with Ford and so on and so on. So yeah, but the logo is VRS. Although here we just say RS. So I think throughout the review, I just switch a little bit back and forth between VRS and RS. But you see, the logo actually always says VRS. And then here the wide grille, also in the new Octavia generation. Here now blacked out vertical fins. Also a sportier lower bumper here in this VRS version. Velvet red is our color here for today. So it's a very striking red color. There are also other colors available, of course. The Matrix LED, otherwise an option for the Octavia, as standard here for the Octavia VRS. And they also have a better lighting performance than the ones of the pre-facelift version. Then here, length is 4.71 meters or 185 inches. Indeed, the VRS version is a centimeter longer than the normal Octavia because of the different bumpers, but that's it. You get 18 or 19-inch wheels, and we can see here they also have these aerodynamic inserts right here. These are indeed the 19-inch wheels, and you can also optionally get the DCC. So normally you have a sport suspension that's already a little bit lower. The DCC, the adaptive suspension, then it's also a little bit lower than the base suspension, but then you can rule between a different spectrum how comfortable or sporty it should be. And also in these different presets, it always rules in a certain spectrum. So we see how it plays out for the comfort here today. It is always front-wheel drive, soon more to the engine, and power upgrades also to come. But first of all, here to the rear, the new Octavia generation has more modern rear lamps here, the tail lamps, and the VRS version once again with sporty accentuations here in the lower part. But wait a minute, the Autogefühl fake exhaust police is watching out for you, because these are just the tips, really large. This is not the real exhaust. The real one then is on the inside. You get another batching right here at the lower right part. I think the red color also fits the vehicle very, very well. And the interesting thing about the Octavia in general has always been that it offers a better price than the Golf, yet at the same time more practical features and more space on the interior. And I can already tell you so far, this will also be the case here today. You see here in the rear, this is the estate version, which is in many countries the more popular one. There's also the sedan version or the hatchback available. It's kind of like a liftback or fastback that also opens wide. It combines both the styling on the exterior and the spaciousness on the interior. Which one you go for is personal preference. Like if you go like to Poland and Czech Republic, then they rather pick the sedan style, and the UK and especially Germany always go for the estate. Yeah, in Germany we love our Combis, and that's why it has a take rate of over 90% here as the estate styling, and also prevailing in the UK. I know you love it. Quick look at the turning indicators here in the front. They replaced the daytime running light. It's a really nice work. It looks visually very attractive. Or what do you think? And since you have the Matrix LED as standard for the Octavia VRS, you also have the cascading turning indicators here in the rear. It always looks pretty fancy. Later to come in this review, we will remove this top fence there and then launch the Octavia VRS here over this ramp, doing some stunt filming and so on. This is the car key, high gloss black. Yeah, nothing special. Door closing sound, first the front. It's quite solid. Then to the rear. Actually sounds better in the rear, I feel, than inside of the doors. This here also somewhat softened up and also a nice structure. Then we have high gloss black because no one asked for it actually. And then we have felt covering on the inside of the door. Also fits a bottle here. So that's actually quite nice. Oh, and there's the famous Škoda trash bin, the small one. I just wonder, like, what is supposed to be fitted like in this small trash bin? Like, a trash bin for one handkerchief or something like that. Then we have an Octavia entry badge, which looks quite fancy indeed. And yeah, we know even a BMW 5 Series doesn't have that anymore, this entry badge. Then the VRS steering wheel here with perforation at the side. No animal skin alternative for that one yet. VRS badge and also real buttons still at the steering wheel. Special to the VRS are these sport seats. They look amazing also with wide shoulder accentuations, red contour stitches, VRS badging. And then in the middle here, there's like a more rough fabric. And then on the sides, it's more like a slicker fabric, so to speak. We're going to test that one while driving. The alternative would be the optional RS Lounge. The difference then, everything which you see like is in fabric now would be in microfiber. And then they also add like a mix of leatherette and animal leather. What doesn't make so much sense because like one part is then animal leather here, and the other is leatherette, and no one could distinguish this. The main functional difference is that on this optional seat you can also make this lower area a little bit longer here. This area here, in this case here, it's fixed, but then it's also a little bit less expensive. Steering wheel up and down, in and out like this. Smooth function, yeah, and as a tall person you find a good driving position here with 189, 6'2". There we go. There's also an optional panoramic roof. So you see, this is already a well-spec'd vehicle, but it is not top spec'd. Cockpit overview. First of all, VRS specific is here, the fabric insert and with the red contour stitches. Optional with the RS Lounge, it would be microfiber then again. Then we have this carbon fiber look, but it's not real carbon fiber. Glove box slides down in a smooth way, so that's nice. You have this integration of the 13-inch screen, which is standard for the RS. A base Octavia could also be, coming with a 10-inch screen, an optional 13-inch, but here the 13-inch is always like this. Volume slider is all the way like from left to right here, really wide. Temperature unit in the screen, however, so yeah, soon more deals to that. You have some hotkeys here in the lower part, for example, to access the climate menu then in the screen, or here to the driving modes and so on. Then lower part, we have two USB-C chargers or also inductive charging, and this is also cooled so that the phone doesn't overheat. Also, there's a wireless connection to Apple CarPlay and Auto. The DSG, dual clutch transmission shifting lever is here integrated, clean solution. And then we have here, you can set this one like an additional coin holder, or you can also put the smartphone here, so that would also be possible. And you see there are these Lego-alike lower dots in there, and the reason for that is actually a bottle like this. A bottle like this. So here, yeah, so I met a clown this morning. So here you can see these exactly fit in here, and then you can actually open and close them here with one hand, because it's like stuck on the lower part and it doesn't like turn around and like this. It's a very interesting feature and exactly fits then these bottles. Then we have also here soft enough for your elbow here on the top part, leatherette, and then open this, more space underneath. Driver POV, once again here with the real buttons at the steering wheel. So this is, for example, and also for the volume on the left side. On the right side you can control something of the assistance system. You click here, and then you can, for example, directly deactivate the speed warning right there. So this is like very important for all the guys in the European Union or also in the UK, that you can deactivate this speed warning. You can also pick completely different stylings, switch that through, like an RPM view, for example, like this, or a map view and so on. I rather prefer, I have to say, like a view where we have this one, like these classic round gauges, for example. In the infotainment system itself, with the facelift, it has also some like more performance and so on, so it's definitely better than before. This is here the Apple CarPlay integration, for example, looks good. It's also quicker than before now. Here once again the temperature and seat heating would be here in the lower part. Let's say it will not be my favorite infotainment system ever, but at least it performs better now. And for the DCC, adaptive suspension here, you can pick the presets or go to an individual mode, and then, yeah, once again configure, there we go. And then you can individualize your suspension setting, or for example, go for an individual mode which sets soft suspension, but more feedback from the steering. That's a cool setting. Now to the rear seats, where we also have so many features indeed. Here, for example, with the sport seats, you can now also fit a smartphone holder. Here's a picture here of the Škoda Elrock from our studio episode. So you can put it vertically or horizontally, so that's both possible. And it's yeah, unusual that it worked with the sport seats before. Here, the passenger sport seat has this opening there. It's not on the driver's side. The alternative would be here, folding this one down. And then you have an additional slot here, where then can, for example, put the phone towards you, like, you know, to watch it while driving, not needing to hold it or something. So these would be, but I mean, like when looking down, you know, there's like this fluid in the ear can actually like move a little bit, and then it can cause sickness when you're like looking down all the time. That's why people get sick when they look down all the time on their smartphone or read in the vehicle. You know, yeah, 20 years ago, it's like, don't read the book in the vehicle because you're looking down. And now it's, of course, all about like looking at the smartphone. But it's good to have like these kinds of possibilities. Then about the cup holders, let's test it here with the bottle. And they are okay, I would say. They are not really adaptive. This one like serves as a somewhat adaptive function. You see here, it could be better, it could be worse. Let's take it that way. And then you have the additional possibility here of this lower console. So you can remove that whole thing. You don't have to have it, but then you can slide it in here in front of the USB-C chargers. And then you have open space, or fold out these here, and they then fit again a bottle. So that would work. Yeah, it depends on the size of how strong they actually hold the bottle. Then here you see this like a blanket. It can be put in there. Blanket is hidden in here, but it could also be put like behind the seats, or you can also put it at the head restraint. So different possibilities are there. And then ISOFIX here at the outside seats each. You have the same seat design than in the front once again. And fold down the middle part there. Seating. As for the legroom, this works since the Octavia has the longer wheelbase here of the MQB platform. So I can sit here as a tall adult, also headroom wise, no problem. Then we also have these very practical shades here. So manual, they cover all of the areas. And the inside of the doors here, it is somewhat structured, yes. So the structure looks nice, but then again, it's also all hardback. However, you can see it here on your side. Here the lower part is covered with felt on the inside. So that's a good thing to see and a good thing to feel, definitely. Well, sitting in the middle part, when I put the blanket here away, of course, then it's not that good with this additional equipment there, but I mean, it somewhat works. So you can also travel with 5 tall adults here. And yeah, one of my favorite features is here. You can put out these horns. They were sponsored. It's like collaboration between Red Bull and Škoda. No, I'm just kidding. It was just a prank, bro. It just looks like bull horns. These are actually very good for falling asleep. And then, let's see. So usually when I would be here and then and then I wake up with a lot of neck pain. But by that, you know, you can adjust the head restraint and height, and then you pull down these. And then when your head falls to the side, it is being held upright. So it's a very cool solution. And yeah, Michelle is doing the filming us today. But I discussed with Leah the other day that she actually wished for this feature on the passenger seat. Yeah, it's not possible yet, but here for the kids and in the rear especially, it's a really cool feature because we've all been there with neck pain when we slept in the car. Not on the driver's seat, of course. You know, yeah. Trunk or boot for the fastback version, 600 liters. Here for the estate, it's 640 liters. And interesting, here the electric hatch. And this one here, the top cover, automatically jumps back when I open the hatch. Just to show you that here, when I close it again and then close the hatch. So there we go. And yeah, on camera it's hard to see, but from my real eye I see that the moment I open it, it jumps back. There we go, visual proof. And then here press one more time to slide it all the way back here like this. And then vertical fit also for the cabin trolley. Here in this area here is 1.40 meters, a little bit wider inside the wheel arches. The length here is like 1.10 meters or 43 inches, and the height here of the estate 70 centimeters or 27 inches. And then here, this is getting really exciting. First of all, we have here this splitter, so you can lift this one up. This one also has, you know, like an attachment here on there. So there we go. And then we can, for example, set it here to the back part. These here, you can also adjust here in the width, so that's possible. Then there's a net here. You can pull this little fella here, like this, and then it's more open to put things in and out, for example. There we go. Oh, sorry, like this. And then here, it's like to fold the seats, left and here, right side. So nice folding mechanism. Ski hatch is also available. And then underneath here, we can put this one open. And then look at that here. This is a very interesting mechanism. You can put this hanger here inside. Yeah. And then this one is being held open. You can work underneath with some stuff you want to store there or additional nets or whatever. And then there's a second layer. You can put this one out and use as a mat for the top part. You can also turn it around and have a rubber mat for cleaning easier. You can put this on top, and then there's another layer underneath, and then you have here like the equipment like for the like tire replacement. There's a replacement tire underneath. It also fits with the subwoofer as well. And then here, these are additional trunk splitters that are hidden underneath there. So you can pull them up. So these here are like free splitters, or like this. And then you can also secure luggage right there. However, then the length is actually pretty cool in overall then. To the seats as we would be driving is some 177 centimeters or 70 inches. So the usage of space here is really extraordinary. And then it continues further here. This one can be lifted away like this. And then you might ask yourself like, okay, what is this now? So this is another additional thing. And you can either put it out completely like this, or you see here there's something rolled in. And you can put it out like this. And then you can actually put something in here like jackets or something. So by that, and it works like this. Here you fold out these hangers on both sides, and then you could put it in here. And by that you can have luggage underneath, and then you put some jackets here on the top. So it's actually quite interesting solution. Why not? I was also thinking about like when you use it here as a scroll. Ladies and gentlemen, the proclamation of the Škoda Oktavia RS. It says it now has 265 horsepower. So, and then you can close it again and report back to the king. There we go. Yeah, we do have gas struts here, indeed. It's a little bit cold here outside, that's why they don't pop up that quickly. This here 2-liter TSI, turbo petrol engine, 265 horsepower, 20 horsepower more than before the facelift, and 6.4 seconds in the acceleration figure for the hatchback or the fastback, and 6.5 seconds, so 0.1 seconds slower here for the estate version. Yeah, I have a little bit more weight there. And by the way, here this funnel for the wiper fluid is always interesting, because you have put this open and you have like this inbuilt funnel here in the front that you don't spill anything of this precious wiper fluid. Well guys, it's time for the German Autobahn. So we go to the sport mode. We have a differential lock there in the front. Let's see how that one performs. 265 horsepower then here now, 20 horsepower more than before. And 6.5 seconds is the acceleration figure from 0 for this estate version we have right here. And yeah, when we're lucky, we also hit an unlimited Autobahn part. What I can already say is that the DCC here in the sport mode is a little bit stiffer, so it gives me a little bit more feedback. Steering is also nice here to maneuver around. Let's accelerate out. Woo! That is already 130 kilometers an hour. Very nice, and the sound feedback here from this sound actuator is not too bad. So sometimes they sound pretty weirdo, but here I think it's well done. Blind spot monitor you've now also seen in the side mirror, and this is here unlimited. There we go. Let's see. 160, 180, 190, 200 kilometers an hour, 125 miles an hour. Yeah, actually really nice performance. Here now at high speed, the steering gets a little bit vague. That's weirdo. So here now, like, see here, nothing happens. Don't like that. Now on the brakes, good feeling for the brakes here indeed. That's nice. So the steering feel at lower speeds is fine, but then at higher speeds, maybe they make it in a way that you don't make too hectic steering movements, but yeah, that's a little bit off, I feel. So here, when doing the lane change, it's actually nice. The suspension also keeps the car upright and so on. That's actually pretty cool. Yeah, just that at the very, very high speed, I feel that steering is, should give you more feeling for the vehicle, I say, you know. Then let's check it out here when we are in the sport mode versus putting the driving mode to comfort. If you feel any notable difference in the suspension. So here, windows are all up. As for the wind noise and so on. So both are working very well. That's always the thing with the DCC. So no matter if you are in the comfort mode or in the sport mode, they are both sporty and comfortable, just then on a different spectrum. And I have to say, you can drive this vehicle in the comfort mode all the time and have enough sportiness. Yeah, here, you know, it evens the bumps out a little bit better, but even if you are in the sport mode, yeah, you have a more fine feeling for the road. So on the motorway, it's actually okay. Here also, like when there are some transverse joints on the road and so on, then you feel them, you feel them definitely more. So this is then the difference, notably indeed. You can still drive it all the way like this, yes, and you can also make your comfortable suspension setting, you know, work long term and so on. Always a question what you want. But here, in these transverse joints, then there's also more sound that is coming from the vehicle when you are in that mode. But you know, when you're in the comfort mode, it's definitely better. Yeah, I feel I would actually keep it in the comfort mode or like in this individual mode setting all the time. So as you might remember, in the individual mode, I did set the steering to sporty, but then the suspension to comfort. So that would also be a suitable setting, for example. However, when you drive a little quicker, then sometimes you might also want to have some feedback from suspension, but that's then totally up to you. Once again, the lane change, this is actually well done, and more acceleration. 160. So now it's 200. Ah, nice. So acceleration wise good. Here now wind noises pick up, but they're not too bad actually, I have to say. So here, at 150 kilometers an hour, it's still actually fine. So that's okay. And I somehow even have the feeling, I'm not sure what would be the reason for that, if they invested something more, or if it's just like that the car evolved a little bit better, it's in the RS version a little bit better, or maybe just because the, I don't know, like this sound actuator here that's distracting the wind noise, that could also be. The Octavia is not the most silent vehicle as for wind noise, that's clear, so here at like above 120 kilometers an hour, there are more silent mid-size or compact vehicles, and it's also not comparable to premium vehicles. So if you are in the premium segment, here at 120, 130 kilometers an hour, it would be way more silent as for the wind noise. So that's also a thing, for example, if you compare Octavia to Superb or then to the Passat, they are like the segment above that, they just can pop up something on that. So once again, also for the steering here, when I'm doing the lane changes here, is actually fine. Let's see when it does happen here at the high speeds. So here, it's actually okay. As long as it's probably like when you're high speed and then straight. It's interesting. Now it doesn't happen that much. Strange. Maybe it's like, I can't really replicate what happened. So that's a little bit weird, I have to say. But maybe it's just like when you're driving really straight, then that you don't have the biggest feeling for that. Here also, when we do some lane change at higher speeds, car remains really upright and stable, and yeah, it's really cool because it's so calm and collected. So you have these compact dimensions, the car feels actually smaller than it even is, and I could even imagine driving this one on the racetrack or something like that. So no problem at all. It feels really compact, nice and sporty. Good balance overall for the vehicle. The seats here, the sport seats, are also keeping me tight, so holding me tight here in the seat. Good shoulder support and so on. And the fabric surface is actually also nice, so good performance here definitely on the motorway, and every lane change is just so much fun. And I mean, yes, it's all front wheel biased. In German we would say to taunt a vehicle, so to speak, a Frontkratzer, like a front scraper. Yeah, I mean, a rear wheel driven sports car will perform better like out of the corners, but since you have this this differential lock in the front, you also don't have like much negative effects on the front wheels, like on the front wheel, and then also on the steering and so on. So it still remains very well to be controlled and so on. So now I actually found out what happened earlier with the high speed. That was actually fault of the lane assist. Yeah, not that pleasant actually. So we can easily deactivate it. Happy about that. So here, one press again, where I also deactivate the speed warning, that I can activate or deactivate the lane assist. Because, so what happened there is, even though you do not use the travel assist or the cruise control, even in normal driving, the lane assist then sometimes is active and then it interferes with your steering, and that's something I don't like at all, I have to say. So for most situations, especially when you drive a little bit quicker and so on, I would actually deactivate that. Only if you say, hey, I want to use the assistance systems, you can also turn that on, and you also have the travel assist. Then you click it here with the separate stall column below the steering wheel, and let's see, it's also here holding me in the lane. At the moment it's tricky for the vehicle because there's the white line, then there's the yellow line. But for that, because it was like this construction lane here, for that actually, that was done very well. And here also keeping the car in the lane in this bend. So very good, nice and sophisticated as for the assistance systems. That is actually very well done. So well, applause to that. Then we get off the motorway to show you some city driving as well. This light handling is actually pretty cool. Of course, like this front wheel drive at some point can also come to its limits, especially if you have like something where you have like standstill and then accelerate out, and while you're being in the corner, something like that. For example, here and now, I mean, as long as you're not applying the throttle too much and you're in the comfort mode, for example, it doesn't matter that much. It matters more the more you push the throttle. So this is usually an area where I say, who does move this vehicle here in this, this is really fine line where almost like in the direction of racing and so on. And but when this doesn't happen, then this effect is actually not too critical, I would say. Here for city driving, I would definitely use the comfort mode, or then the individual mode that just gives me the best comfort in driving actually, and maybe I set all other settings differently. And cool thing is also it's not too large, so it also fits the more narrow European roads and so on. That's fine. Here now, when we have some uneven roads or something, the Octavia does not have the best suspension, not the best rear axle, not the most sophisticated. You do feel that, and in the RS setting here is of course also then even stiffer in general, and I think I would not go with the fixed suspension in the RS. I would then go for the Optiono DCC, probably one of the options I would pick first, just to gain even more comfort, as far as possible. So, and just to mention, the RS version does have the multi-link in the rear, so at least we do have that. The other Octavia versions, they use the torsion beam in the rear. So here we do have some rear comfort. So on the one hand, you have it stiffer. On the other hand, you have a more sophisticated technology than at the rear axle. Fuel economy, you gotta calculate with, let's say, if you don't stress it too much, so like normal driving and also motorway and so on, 8 liters on 1 kilometers, so like 29 mpg US, 35 mpg UK. So a usual Škoda Oktavia is between 30 and 50,000 euros in this price range. Here the VRS version starts at around 48,000 euros. Then if you spec some like it stands here, this is not fully spec'd, it's well spec'd but not fully. It's about 53,000 euros, and you can go up to like 56,000 euros. It's not cheap at all, but comparing to other vehicles in that size, the space on the interior and also the power, fairly a good deal, and also if you consider the leasing rates, which also are quite often quite attractive. That's why, for example, also here with us in Germany, we see a lot of these on the roads, and even as the RS version, like a fifth of all, of the customers then here pick the VRS version. That's very interesting, and kind of seldom that so many people go for the sporty version in that lineup. Yeah, but then I think when you compare a GTI, it's like a little bit less space, and of course more compact dimensions, or we can also check out some other competitors.